Trigger warning, this episode of Below the Forest Floor contains themes of suicide, death, murder, and may not be suitable for young children. Caution is advised. Welcome to Below the Forest Floor. My name is Nancy and today's topic is going to be a bit different but just as creepy as our normal creature features. Today we are going to be exploring the world of chain letters. Yes, you heard that right, chain letters. Although chain emails are usually ignored these days and sent straight to spam folders across the globe, most chain letters can come in the form of a post on social media claiming that you'll have bad luck for the rest of your life if you don't share and tag 10 of your closest friends. Heck, when I'm having a bad day and I see one of those pop up on my newsfeed, I don't take any chances because even though I know it's not real, there's just something in the back of my head that says, maybe. What if? It won't hurt to just share. Do you really need that extra little bit of bad luck just because you didn't share it? I know that sounds silly, but it's just something that's been ingrained in me for so long because when I was younger, there was a lot of chain emails or chain letters on the internet that talked about way scarier stuff than just having bad luck. But what is a chain letter exactly, and what classifies something to this category? Basically, a chain letter can be classified as a message that is distributed amongst a group of people, prompting those people to send the message to other people, then so on and so forth. They could be as harmless as tagging your friends in joke pictures, but sometimes they can be as harmful as implying that your family's gonna have a curse put upon them if your loved ones don't send monetary compensation to the person who wrote the chain email. Sounds kinda like a threat, doesn't it? Well, although some of us can ignore these types of messages, some people who don't have a lot of experience on the internet are easy targets due to the fact that some people don't understand that it's all just a ploy to con innocent bystanders. It's gotten so bad that there are warnings now on city websites talking about the dangers of being conned on the internet with chain letters. But what makes chain letters applicable to being on Below the Forest Floor? What is creepy, supernatural, or even weird about spam and con artists? Well, back in the early days of the internet, alongside these money-hungry emails existed haunted chain letters. Some that created new horrors to fear, and others that brought back monsters from your childhood. What would seem like just another scary story or tale of horror would end in a manner similar to, if you don't send this story to so many people, you'll be next. I remember seeing these types of posts on early social media outlets when I was younger, and honestly, I had nightmares about it. Come on guys, I grew up in a haunted house. I was not about to take my chances coming across more supernatural activity. I'm going to be reading a few of these chain letters to you all today to give you all some examples of what they used to sound like, or what they still sound like. I'm not sure if they're still around. I haven't seen a lot of people share stuff like this recently. Although the website that I'm reading this from, scaryforkids.com, does have a little note at the top that says, just remember one thing, these emails and forwards are not real, they're just fake, stupid, and fun. They were made up by kids to scare other kids, so don't take them too seriously. And I would like to give my own warning as well. Warning, the stories you are about to hear are chainmail that have been proven to be completely made up by individuals, and the ramifications of not sharing them are completely fake. Our first story for tonight is going to be of a young girl named Clarissa. This story is accompanied by a picture of a young girl whose eyes are completely blacked out, has greenish blue, pale skin, and bloody teeth. Warning, this is not a joke. Carry on reading or you will die. Once there was a little girl called Clarissa. She was 10 years old and she lived in a mental hospital because she killed her mom and dad. She got so bad, she went on to kill the staff in the hospital, so the government decided that the best idea was to get rid of her, so they set up a special room to kill her. They tried to do it as humanely as possible, but it went wrong, and she sat there in agony for hours until she finally died. Now every week on the day of her death, she returns to the person that reads this chain letter on a Monday night at 12 a.m. she creeps into your room and kills you slowly by cutting you and watching you bleed to death. Now send this link to 10 other people and she will haunt someone else who doesn't pass this on like you did, and she will forget about you. Example: Jenny didn't believe this and deleted it without even reading the whole thing. A few days later, on a Monday night, she was woken up by loud footsteps and heavy breathing. Clarissa was standing there with a huge knife, and well, Jenny is history now. Pretty scary stuff, huh guys? The next letter is called Carmen Winstead. The scary story of Carmen Winstead is an urban legend about a 17-year-old girl who was pushed down a sewer opening by 5 girls she thought were her friends. The chain letter claims that a boy named David Gregory died when he didn't pass this story on. Carmen Winstead was 17 years old when her parents decided to move to Indiana. Her father had lost his job, and the only way he could find a new employment was by moving to a new state. The relocation caused a lot of problems for Carmen. She had to leave her friends behind and attend a whole new school in Indiana. Carmen had a hard time making friends when she changed schools. It was the middle of the school year and most of the students had no interest in befriending the new girl. Initially, she spent many days alone, walking from class to class without speaking to anyone, but she eventually started hanging out with a group of 5 girls. Carmen thought these girls were her friends, but it wasn't long before she discovered that they'd been talking about her behind her back and spreading vile rumors. When she confronted them, the girls turned on her and began bullying her every day, making her life a misery. They started out calling her names, but then the bullying got much worse. One day, she left her school books in the classroom at break time. When she returned, she found someone had taken a Sharpie and written dirty words all over her books. Another day, she opened her bag and discovered someone had poured yogurt all over the insides. Sometimes, she would come to school and find her locker would be vandalized. The final straw came when she went to put her coat on at recess and found that someone had stuffed dog poop in her pockets. There and then, Carmen decided that she couldn't take the bullying any longer. She planned to stay behind that evening after school and tell the teacher what had been happening. Unfortunately, her decision came too late to save her life. After lunch, her teacher announced that the school was holding a fire drill. When the alarm sounded, Carmen and the other students filed out of the classroom and assembled in the yard outside. As teachers read out the roll call, the gang of 5 girls decided that this was a great opportunity to embarrass Carmen in front of the whole school during the fire drill. They moved over to where Carmen was standing, near a sewer drain, and began crowding the poor girl, getting in her face and nudging her towards the open manhole. They pushed her and she tripped over and fell headfirst down into the manhole. When they saw her falling, the girls started giggling and Carmen's name was called out. They shouted, "She's down in the sewer!" All of the other students began laughing, but when the teachers looked down the manhole and saw Carmen's body laying at the bottom of the muck and poop, the laughter abruptly stopped. Her head was twisted around at an odd angle and her face was covered in blood. Worse still, she wasn't moving. There was nothing any of the teachers could do for her. Carmen was dead. When the police arrived and went down into the sewer, they determined that she had broken her neck. Her face had been torn off when she hit the ladder on the way down, and her neck snapped when she landed on her head on the concrete at the bottom. The police hauled Carmen's body out of the sewer and sent her to the mortuary. Everyone had to stay behind after school while the police questioned all of Carmen's classmates. The 5 girls lied to the police, saying that they had witnessed Carmen falling down the sewer. The police believed the girls, and Carmen Winstead's death was ruled an accident. The case was closed. Everyone thought that was the last that they would hear of Carmen Winstead, but they were wrong. Months later, Carmen's classmates began receiving strange emails on their MySpaces. The emails were titled "They Pushed Her" and claimed that Carmen had not really fallen down the sewer, but she had been pushed. The emails also warned that the guilty people should own up and take responsibility for their crime. If they didn't, there would be horrible consequences. Most people dismissed the emails as a hoax, but others were not so sure. A few days later, one of the girls who pushed Carmen down the sewer was at home taking a shower when she heard a strange cackling laugh. It seemed to be coming from the drain. The girl started to freak out and ran out of the bathroom. That night, the girl said goodnight to her mom and went to sleep. 5 hours later, her mom was awoken in the middle of the night by a loud noise that resounded throughout the house. She ran to her daughter's room, only to find it empty. There was no trace of the girl. The worried mother called the police, and when they arrived, they conducted a search of the area. Eventually, they discovered the girl's grisly remains. Her corpse was lying in the sewer, covered in muck and poop. Her neck was broken and her face was missing. It had been completely torn off. One by one, all of the girls who pushed Carmen that day were found dead. They had all been killed in exactly the same way and were all found at exactly the same spot, in the sewer at the bottom of the same uncovered manhole where Carmen had met her doom. But the killing didn't stop there. More and more of Carmen's former classmates were found dead. It seemed that anyone who didn't believe that Carmen had been pushed was eventually found down in the sewer, with their necks broken and their faces torn off. They say that Carmen's ghost is still on the rampage, hunting down anyone who doesn't believe her story. According to the legend, Carmen will get you, whether it's from a toilet or a shower, a sink or a drain. When you go to sleep, you'll wake up in the sewer, in complete darkness, paralyzed, unable to move, hearing the cackling laughter all around you. Then, as you scream in horror, Carmen will come and tear your face off. So be careful who you bully, because you just might find yourself on the receiving end of the curse of Carmen Winstead. The story ends by saying, to show Carmen you support her and are against bullying, share the link to this story with your friends, and it goes on to name various social media websites. Although I don't approve of chain letters, or the grisly ending that these poor children all met, I agree, don't bully people. Not because some terrible, horrible, supernatural thing's gonna happen to you. It's just wrong. Don't do it. Don't hurt people. Don't make them feel bad. Up next, we have the story of Amanda. In the picture that's provided on the Scary for Kids website, Amanda looks like a young woman with big red eyes. Her mouth is humongous and torn up on the side where her right cheek is. She has dark black hair that is messily put up in pigtails. And the description says, the Amanda chain letter is about a girl who was murdered by her boyfriend in a fit of drunken rage. Amanda was a very pretty girl with long black hair and beautiful green eyes. One night she was getting ready to go out and meet her boyfriend. She was doing her makeup and her hair and choosing her best clothes. She walked down to the corner where she was supposed to meet him when suddenly someone stumbled out of the pub, drunk and disheveled. Slowly backing away, she didn't realize who it was hobbling towards her until he got right up close. When she saw the angry, pasty face of her boyfriend, he ran after her. Almost falling into the motionless road, the heel of her shoe snapped and she tripped, breathless and tired. Before she could stand up again, he caught up with her. He dragged her into the field beside them where he strangled her. Lying there dead in front of him, with matted hair and a pale face, her eyes stared up at him. Thinking quickly, he crept into the garden of the neighbors who ran a butcher shop. He sneaked into the preparation room where all of the knives were. He took the first knife he saw and spent half an hour cutting Amanda into pieces. He buried each piece separately around the field before passing out, either from shock or alcohol poisoning. Right now, Amanda's spirit is sat beside you. She's reading every word of this scary email just as you are. But she's read it 1,000 times. If you want to stay safe, Amanda will help you. Even dead, she is a sweet and kind girl, but her boyfriend died drunk, angry, and murderous. That is the way he has stayed. If you spread this story to as many people as you can, Amanda will keep him away. After all, you can only die once. However, if you just laugh it off and delete this, well, she'll just laugh off your murder. One boy laughed this off, and this is what happened to him. He was going for a shower. His mom was in the room below. She heard the shower go off and the noise of him getting out of the bath. Well, she thought it was him getting out of the bath. He didn't come downstairs, so she shouted up and asked if he was okay. There was no reply. Worried, she ran up the stairs. The door was still locked. She chopped down the door with a butcher's knife, only to find her son hanging there in the shower, dead. Amanda was laughing. She was there, beside him, laughing. Our last story for the evening is called Sally Stitch. The description reads, Sally Stitch is a scary chain letter about a little girl whose eyes and mouth were sewn shut with a rusty needle. The Sally Stitch email was featured in an episode of Ghost Whisperer. The story I'm reading is from the website Scary for Kids, and it does not state an original author. A girl named Ashley sat alone in her apartment, bored. She was unemployed, and she couldn't pay the bills with the little money she had left. Her TV was broken, and none of her friends were online, so she had nothing to watch and no one to talk to. Suddenly, she had an idea. She went to her email and started typing this. Long ago, there lived a little girl in a small town that was at the foot of a mountain. She was very shy and awkward and had no friends. Her hair always hung in front of her face, which gave her a strange appearance, which made the villagers dislike her more. One day on her way home, all the children in town cornered her while she was walking. They started throwing rocks at her and calling her names, but the children suddenly stopped because the little girl raised her arm up and pointed to one of the boys. "You will die in 3 days," she said. The kids got scared and ran off screaming. 3 days later, the boy unexpectedly started vomiting blood. He died before he reached the hospital. Soon the little girl started announcing more of the villagers' deaths, and they would all die on the predicted date. A wave of panic and fear swept over the town, so the remaining villagers had a meeting in the town hall. After an hour, they finally decided. The next day, the young men in the village led the little girl into the mine, and as soon as they were out of sight, they grabbed her and led her into a secret chamber. They tied her arms and legs to a chair, and one of the men got out a rusty sewing needle. He then grabbed her by the lips and started sewing them together so she could never foretell another death. Then they left her in the chamber and sealed the mine forever. If you don't want the little girl to appear by your bed tonight, send this to 12 people and the sender. If you don't, she will appear by your bed tonight with a needle in her hand. Ashley smirked to herself and hit the send button. The next day, she received 12 emails from her friends. All were the same chain letter she had sent. She saw them and laughed to herself. "I can't believe they actually believe it. Pathetic." She logged off her computer, laughing aloud to herself. Then she brushed her teeth and went to bed. But in the middle of the night, she heard a girly giggle in the corner, but no one was there, so she turned to go back to sleep, and then, standing there, was a little girl with long black hair covering her face. She looked at Ashley with her cold, gray eyes. Her hands were behind her back. Her face slowly broke into a mischievous smile, and she revealed her arms from behind her back, and she started giggling. In her hand was a rusty needle. Those are pretty creepy, huh? These are just some examples of some things that would just pop up on social media when I was a teenager. And at the time, because I was young and naive, it freaked me out. I would get scared and I would share it. Although chain letters may seem like a totally new concept since they gained a lot of popularity on the internet with stories like these, they actually date back all the way to ancient Egypt, which makes us a little creepier. They can even be found in the Book of the Dead. That particular piece of chainmail claims that if the person copies the certain image from the Book of the Dead, they shall find it of great benefit to him both in heaven and on earth, while the man who knows not this picture shall never be able to repulse the serpent Nera. Sorry if I said that wrong. Super creepy, huh? According to multiple news outlets, 2020 has even brought back chain letters in a bit of a different way though. Because of quarantine, some people have been stuck at home bored, so they just created happy chain letters to share with their friends. Of course, they're nothing compared to the horrors we've heard here today. Whether chain letters actually do anything to the people who don't share these stories, or do, is still a question for many. They do have a home here with us, below the forest floor. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode, everyone. I hope you enjoyed your visit below the forest floor. Please feel free to join us next week when we discuss the Aztec god, Tlaloc.